behavior. I actually believe that the theory we're going to attack first will become your favorite theory.
Let's go.
Why?
Well, allow me to explain it first, and then I call this the Reggie Larson theory. Any know who Reggie Larson is? He's the son of our fearless leader. Yep, exactly. Well said. Reggie used to wander the halls back when that was weird, right? So with our new schedule, there are always kids in the halls, but back in the olden days when we had starting and ending times for all classes at the same time, the good old days, Reggie would be just wandering the halls. And I'd walk out there and say, Reggie, why aren't you in class? Oh, and he'd keep walking. And I'd walk back here and I'd think, well, that's Reggie. Okay. Another kid, I'll just call this other kid Tony. Tony would be walking the halls. And I'd say, Tony, where are you supposed to be? Oh, no, seriously, Tony, where are you supposed to be? And then I'd look up his schedule and I would escort him to class. Now, Reggie's behavior was the same as Tony's. They both laughed at me, but I let Reggie go and I did not let Tony go. Why?
You're a mean person.
No, it has to do with labeling theory. And I bet some of you are the beneficiaries or the victims of labeling theory. Let me give you an example. Batman. Some people label Batman hero. Others label him criminal. He does the same thing. He's engaging in the same behavior. But some people look at that behavior and say, way to go. And other people say criminal. You understand? The behavior is the same. What's different is the observer. I look at Reggie walking down the hall and I say, good kid. He's probably where he's supposed to be. I'll let it go. I look at Tony and I say, bad apple. I'll help him get to class. Or let's say that I'm observing James is on his phone, and let's say Taylor Paulson is on her phone. And I think, I coached Taylor. She's a good kid. James, put your phone away.
Yeah, James.
You understand? The behavior is the same. What's different is I am different. And have you ever had the experience of where you're on your phone and the teacher walks by the other kids who are on their phone and tells you to put your phone away? And you're like, what about? That's labeling theory. You understand? Labeling theory says that what makes you a deviant is the observer. The observer dictates whether or not you've been labeled. So labeling theory, why are some people viewed as criminal while others that behave the same way aren't? It's because some people are viewed as good because they come from the right family, or the right skin color, or they're the right gender, or the person that's doing the observing has a personal history with you, was your coach at one time, taught your older brother, taught your mom, and so overlooks negative behavior as an aberration because I know you're a good kid. The label, it stays with you forever. The problem with that is what if you really sincerely decide to change, right? What if you're an idiot as a freshman and you don't try and so you've been labeled lazy kid. And so teachers label you that way. You got no chance, right? You can't break the mold. Now that works two ways, right? It works both ways. It sucks if you've been labeled a bad apple, but it's awesome if you've been labeled a great kid because you can get away with anything. I'm a good kid, right? You can just walk the halls like Reggie. I'm Reggie Larson. And I loved Reggie, loved him. But he was in the hallway a lot. Okay, so there's the point. If you're writing down the red, that's a waste of time. It's the black part that's the definition. The focus is on the reaction, not the action. The initial action is irrelevant. It's the reaction of the observer that dictates if you are a deviant or not. you engage in the same behavior. I'm curious if any of you have been the victim or the beneficiary of labeling. How many of you had personal experience where, because you've been labeled fill in the blank, you have received certain treatment, and that's either good or bad? Anybody received preferential treatment? You've gotten away with it? Yes? Any of you been labeled bad and so you haven't gotten away with it? Yes? You're kidding. You're bad? No, really?
Well, to this person I am. Yeah.
Is this a school thing?
Yeah.
It's a teacher thing?
Yeah.
There's a teacher who's not a huge fan of yours?
Yeah.
Really? It's hard to believe. Anyone want to share?
Okay.
She needs everybody.
Okay, so it's a she.
Yeah.
I told you about this person. Wait, can I
Let's
share?
just drop
No?
it since
Okay.
this is all online. Okay. Get the idea, right? It's the action's the same as the reaction. That's different. Okay. Any questions here? Let's keep going. Our last theory for today is something called a conflict theory. This is actually a sociological view that tries to explain everything. Do you remember the basic idea of conflict theory? The basic idea. Okay, very good. That in any situation, there's a negative aspect. And let's see if you can figure out what conflict theory's argument about our criminal justice system is. So let's just start looking at these statistics right over here. So these are according to the federal government. So white men ages 18 or older, 1 in every 106 are in prison right now. So that's under 1%. Let's keep going. All men, all races, ages 18 or older, 1 in 54, which means that some factor has brought that number from 1% to more like 2%, right? Let's keep going. Hispanic, 1 in every 36. 1 in every 36. 1 in every 36, that would be 3-ish%. 4-ish, 3 to 4%, right? Black men, ages 18 or older, 1 in 15. 1 in 15. Let's see, what would that be? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over, 6 to 7% are in prison right now. Black men ages 20 to 34, 1 in 9. More than 10%, of blacks ages 20 to 34 right now are in prison. Right? Holy mackerel. This theory argues that what dictates a crime is those in power. When I say the word segregation, does that mean anything? Anyone know what that means?
No.
Will doesn't know what it means. Does anyone know what segregation means? Is it one of those questions where we all know what it means, so why am I wasting our time?
Yeah.
Separate.
It's the separation of races, mostly occurred in southern states after the Civil War. So let's go back to the 13th Amendment. Do you know what the 13th Amendment said? Anyone remember the 13th Amendment? Kind of an important one.
Abolish slavery.
No more slavery. Are you sure? It abolished all slavery?
And then it like
No, it abolished all slavery except for prisoners.
Very good, right? It abolished race-based slavery. It did say, though, that there's an exception. You can basically enslave people who are convicted of crimes, right? You can engage in slave-based labor of prisoners, criminals. So what southern states did was they can't imprison blacks anymore because they're black. So what they do, they passed a bunch of laws. And then when these blacks violated those laws, arrested them. Now we can enslave them not because they're black, but because they're criminals. And we're talking about laws that said blacks, did you know after the Civil War, blacks were not allowed to own guns, which is a Second Amendment right. But if you were a black man with a gun, you were arrested. Now we can enslave you, not because you're black, but because you violated that law. Did you know after the Civil War, if you were in groups, if you were black and you were in groups of 4 or larger in public, you broke the law. They arrested you. Now we can put you back in prison. Now we can enslave you, not because you're black, but because you were meeting in a group. And if you're about to ask, what about your family? That didn't count.
No.
Go ahead.
Did they, like, in the laws itself, did it say black man or did it say people in general? Like, were they targeting these
Blacks.
people? Okay.
Blacks were not allowed to
Okay.
accumulate in groups
So it
of
wasn't
4
like
or more.
people, like, you were not allowed. Oh.
Right.
Okay.
Black people, right? Et cetera, right? So those whites in power in the South defined what's a crime, right? Think about that. Who's a criminal? Whoever's a criminal is what we say is a criminal is. That's the idea of conflict theory, right? Jack engages in behavior, it's fine, but no black people in here, darn it. Let's see, who's a black, who's that really short comedian who got in a little trouble? Kevin Hart, yep. He engages in the same behavior, but because they're both in Mississippi, Kevin Hart is suddenly on the chain gang picking up trash on the side of the road, and Jack, who engaged in the same behavior, that's kind of funny how you immediately knew who I was talking about there. Short comedian, black comedian, yeah. Did you know what happened to him? Anyone see what happened to him?
He said some homophobic tweets like 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So he was going to be the host of some award show, and then the award show dropped him because they found some tweets that he made. Yeah, exactly. 10 years ago, which were seen as homophobic. Whatever your opinion is there. Okay. The conclusion of this theory is that the criminal justice system unfairly targets people. Right? That it's racist. As an example, we're gonna play with this a little bit next week. Why is it that certain drugs are illegal, but other drugs are perfectly legal? The number one addictive drug in the world today is sugar. Sugar. It has as much health issues as marijuana. And yet, marijuana nationally is illegal, and sugar is breakfast. Right? Every morning, I make something called warm sugar water, and then I add a little coffee for color. Why? Why is caffeine perfectly legal? And these other drugs are illegal. They both have negative aspects to it. And the argument that the argument this theory argues is the reason some are legal and some aren't is because the drugs that I want legal are white people drugs. And the drugs you want to label illegal are not white people drugs. They're drugs the other cultures use. So we'll make them illegal and the drugs I like legal. Good.
Is it also because sugar is used in like a lot of baking and stuff, and that's like a lot of food already?
I bet marijuana pancakes would be sweet. That was a joke. It was a joke. I did not mean that.
We have now, Mr.
Another video that will not be put on the website. Damn it.
Goodbye,
All right.
Mr. Potter.
It was nice teaching you. Yeah. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. Very good. I'm done. We'll end it.
You're gonna pull Mr. Keeper and leave us?